Hey everyone, I hope you're all doing well. I'm sorry I'm quiet. It's been a long day, but feel free to talk or leave comments if you're watching this later on. Right now I'm drawing the eyes. Roughly the space in between the eyes should be actually the size of another eye. So, yeah. And when you decide where the eyes are, you kind of just really draw a line in the middle. It's kind of the same with everyone proportion wise. So, yeah, that's what I'm doing. It'll be stylized, but I follow some proportions. See, the nose would be about right there. Mouth there. I'm just basically laying out the basic foundation of what I think I'm gonna do. I feel like the eyebrows always kind of follow the bridge of the nose. I kind of do dots just to do a basic outline if I'm gonna do a curved line. I apologize for the background noise. The walls are thin, unfortunately. It kind of stresses me out a little bit sometimes. I have to hear that background noise all the time. I have to put on headphones often. But that's apartment living for you. Now, you normally shouldn't put the eyes in the back of their head like that, but that's just like what I do. I don't know why. I'm gonna move this a little bit. Sometimes it's easier for me to get closer. One of the things that makes streaming this difficult is just not being able to get that close to the paper. So this is probably the most time consuming part is shading. And basically what I do is just kind of do like highlights, almost like stripes, and you just kind of like fade from dark to light to dark again until you run out of area basically. Again, this whole thing's a learning process. I'm rusty with drawing, so I have to get better at doing it too. I'm also not using the highest quality paper that I'm used to drawing on, so the pen doesn't roll as well, but that's really not an issue. I just need to get back into drawing and not be so rusty, and then just recording it and remembering that people could be potentially watching and actually saying stuff and not getting lost in this all the time. But I think moments of silence are all right too, but I'm assuming that every once in a while someone might want to know why I'm doing something. So yeah. So practice makes perfect. Just like drawing or anything. The more that I do, I'll get better at. I'm hoping anyway. I'm probably not setting the best example, but to get the best quality in shading, you kind of always want to go into the direction of whatever you're shading. So, for instance, I should be going upwards like this. It's going to be like another darker spot. With hair, I kind of do the dark spots almost like a bolt of electricity. And like I said, once you get to the darkest spot, you just kind of want to fade out. And since this is the edge right here, I want to do a little bit of shading on the outside. My hand's a little bit shaky right now. It's in an awkward angle, but you kind of want to like shade on the outside of the line a little bit, just by like a centimeter or so, depending on, of course, how large your drawing is. I'm drawing on like a standard size sheet of like printer paper. I think that's like 8 by 10, something like that. You'll have to forgive me, I didn't look at the size of the paper I'm using. I think shading's almost like meditation. You can just get lost in it because I guess it's such a tedious thing. You can almost do it on autopilot after a while. I think I made these stripes too far apart. Oops. Faye, wake up. You're having a nightmare. My dog's sleeping beside me. So let's get the basic shape of her chin out of the way. Obviously, he would want your lines a little bit neater if you were doing this, like for a client or whatever, or even for yourself. I mean, everybody wants neat lines. I used to have a professor that used to yell at me the way I sketch lines out like that. He's like, one swift stroke. It's just really difficult for me to do lines like that, especially with my leveling of anxiety. I always have like shaky hands. I kind of screwed up that other eye. I need to move the paper again and get closer. Well, like I said, it's not a big deal. Really, the goal here is just to get comfortable with streaming this and just holding the pen and drawing again. I used to do this all the time. Now it's like a struggle. So maybe with the videos, I'll force myself to do it more. And in turn, I'll get better at doing commentary as well as these videos. So it's win-win, I guess, if it all works out right. I actually want to use the micron pin for eyelashes. If you don't know what a micron pin is, it's just a really skinny pin. You can either buy them separately or in sets, but like the pin itself is almost like a hypodermic needle, but it's really good for things like eyelashes and things that require a thin line. Although it appears that my pen might be out of ink, which is no big deal because it's fairly old. I have other slightly larger sizes I could probably use, but I'm just gonna fudge it with a pen. Just kind of wanted to show what it was used for, but there's no point if there's no ink in it. I should have tried that ahead of time, but you know me. Or if you don't know, I'm not very prepared. Just doing her eyelashes, and I'm kind of doing it in crazy directions because why not? Then we're gonna do it like this. Then back to the tedious art of shading hair. And so we're just gonna, again, kind of do kind of like an outline on the inside. And I'll just fade that in and out later on once I do a thicker outline of the hair. This would be a good area to put a hard edge. So we draw that in, like right here. And where the squiggly line is, that's where I plan on putting the darkest area. Again, I think it's better to be unique than photorealistic. At least that's what I tell myself, so I don't try to be photorealistic. I think sometimes when you follow proportions and rules and stuff like that, you forget about being creative. Like, and I know there are many talented artists that can do both, but like with me, sometimes when I focus on all those things, I forget about what I'm actually drawing and I'm more stressing about all the non-important stuff. I mean, it's important if that's what you're trying to go with aesthetically, but if you're just doing it for fun, I mean, like part of it's like whatever kind of story or image you're trying to show off or tell or whatever. To me, art's just another form of storytelling. When I was in creative writing, like a lot of my stories were originally like sketches and stuff like that, and I'm like, maybe this character or whatever just deserves a story. Part of me is trying to hurry because I gotta take the dog out soon, but I should have something halfway looking human by the time I'm finished. We'll see. Sometimes you can go horizontal if you can get away with not having it show. Like if you're trying to get a really dark spot done, but I don't recommend it if you're trying to do hair strands. Sometimes cross hatching looks good, but I don't think it looks very good on hair, but that's a personal opinion. A lot of times when I'm done, I'll add little rogue strands of hair and stuff like that going all over the place. In my opinion, it adds a lot of character. And it kind of gives my drawings its own signature style, I guess. It's always good to develop your own unique things about your artwork, even though I feel like most of the unique things I've developed are just things I've liked here and there and just incorporated it into my own artwork, probably like subconsciously, because I can't ever think of a point like I would just like I want to be that person, but I think it happens through just being inspired. Like I was thinking about like the eyes, sometimes how I draw them rolling back in the head. And I think I got that from just being a fan of like H.R. Giger and his work. Because like a lot of his drawings are like that. Like there was this PC game, I think it was called like Dark Seed or something like that. I believe it had a sequel as well. And I think it was from Necronomicon, but I'm only mentioning the PC game because they use one of his most popular. He does airbrush, so I guess it would be considered a painting, like one of his most famous paintings, as the cover of that game. I believe it was called like Necronomicon like 2 or something like that. It's a really cool drawing. If you're not familiar with the artist, he came up with the design of the xenomorph in the first Alien. He also worked a little bit on the Poltergeist Part 2. He designed Kane, the worm creature. If you ever saw the movie Species, he also designed that monster as well. He unfortunately passed away not too long ago, like maybe a few years ago. I saw a documentary. He created all this crazy stuff and creepy imagery in his drawings, and it was kind of interesting. They were from nightmares, and when he talked, it was interesting how afraid of things he was, because I draw creepy stuff all the time, and I just feel like I'm desensitized, and that's what I like. Like, I like horror movies, horror games, stuff like that. But it doesn't really bother me that way. I mean, if it was real, of course it would, but like in media and stuff like that, or artwork, it doesn't really bother me that much. So I find that interesting because I think some of his stuff is some of the creepiest I've ever seen, which is amazing from an art standpoint. Like, that impresses me. I'm not saying it in a negative way. Like, that's what I would seek out. I had a book. He had a very interesting life. I let a friend borrow it, and it got lost during a move. Story of my life. I wish I could find that book again. His books tend to be kind of expensive, but one of my favorite things to collect are art books, and not just like how-to drawing books, but books like that are basically like encyclopedia, like art galleries. Also, I have quite a few art books for games. Like, I think a lot of times when it comes to games and stuff like that, a lot of the artists are like the unsung heroes, and you see their art through the graphics and stuff like that once they're rendered. But there is an artist that actually drew all that stuff out before it was ever in 3D, and I think that's incredibly impressive. And I love getting the books to show you that concept and that process, that stage of that world. The one book I wish I had that I'm surprised I don't is the cyberpunk art book. That's been like one of my most contemporary favorite games of all time, and I just love the art design in that game. I imagine that book has a ton of like neon signs and stuff like that put into it. I bet it's really cool. I'd love to see like all the vehicle concept drawings and stuff like that. Just like the clothes. I just think that would be really inspiring, like for getting ideas about wanting to draw stuff. And I'm turning this around just because it's easier to shade in different directions that way instead of curving my hand in unnatural positions. Unfortunately, I'm drawing on a very thin piece of paper, so the integrity is wearing out the more I draw on it. Like, you can kind of hear it crinkle. It's getting wrinkled from being drawn on. but I wasn't planning on doing a whole full composition. I just wanted to draw like a face or something, just for fun. Still trying to get comfortable streaming and doing artwork simultaneously. It's a lot. It doesn't seem like it is, and maybe it isn't for other people, but it seems to be a challenge for me. Always think I'm gonna do short hair, but I always end up making it long. I think long hair is just fun to draw. Add some more curvature to that strand, because why not? Actually, I think it just looks better. But that's just personal preference again. Sometimes when you're shading, it almost feels similar to sculpting, how you're like going in different directions and stuff like that, and trying to follow the curves. leave a little highlight so this strand sticks out a little bit more before I go dark again. I'm just going to start at that edge of that highlight that I started before. Shoot. Just add a little bit of texture. Okay. Now let's try to fix this busted face. And I dropped my pencil. Alright. Now that I'm a little bit closer, I can see what I'm doing. If you're wondering what that noise is, that's just the dog. She was sitting beside me, and now she went to go sit on the floor. Honestly, I'm thinking about giving her heavy eye makeup than usual. trying to figure out what approach I should have with the teeth. I do not know. Let's see. So, should have drawn this out ahead of time, so I'll just cheat my way out of this. I'm not trying to make her look like too much of a monster. Accidentally scribbled out the white part over here. right now, I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm just kind of going with it, seeing where it goes. I kind of prefer my drawings to be weird, and I think I'm being successful in that at least. All right. I'm not going to shade the face with pen. I'm actually going to do pencil because it's faster and I have limited time. I'm kind of stretching the time as it is because I need to take my dog for a walk, but she's sleeping right now, so I don't think she'll mind a few minutes. Great thing about shading with pencil, if you screw up, you can just erase it. Just make sure that if you ever use pencil with pen, that most of your pen work is done before you try to draw over with pencil, because that is a nightmare. Obviously, it can't always be avoided, but it's still a thing to keep in mind. And the lead in my pencil is about to snap. So here's some ASMR sounds of a pencil sharpener. It's actually easier to shade with a dull pencil, but this one was about to bust off. So it didn't really matter. And now I'm making a mess because the lid came off because I should have changed it. Oh man. And there's color pencils here. It's every color of the rainbow. The trials and tribulations of this channel. And I think I hear the lead's about to snap again. All right. No, it's too sharp. But I can work on other things, like the hair. And why am I picking this color? Because I wanted to contrast everything else. The pen kind of did most of the detail that you would normally have to draw out with colored pencil. It has a different look, of course, but if that's what you're going for, it works too. Also, with the hair, this will help boost whatever highlights you really want to pull out. If I would have to pick a brand of the easiest and my most favorite color pencils to use, they're Prismacolor. They're almost like oil pastels, like they're so smooth. I'm using Target's brand, which is kind of coarse and it doesn't spread as much as I'd like it to. If you're looking for an affordable solution, I would suggest actually Crayola colored pencils are actually not terrible. I would just suggest whatever one you get, make sure you have a white colored pencil with it. I think white's like the best thing to blend with colored pencils, and that'll also make your drawing pop a lot more. I just kind of grabbed what was on top of my little art rack in the other room. Trying to see what colors I have to work with. I only have 12, so I gotta kind of be picky here. I was thinking about doing an undercoat for the skin, like maybe doing like a light red, but I don't have enough color options right now without pulling out my other color pencils. So right now I'm gonna try to get the pin dull by shading in the eyes, which they should have some busted blood vessels in, but I kind of want the eyes to pop a little bit more. So, I'm not gonna add them in because that'll kind of be a distraction. Maybe add a splash of green for eyes. Why not? As tempting as it is, I'm not going to try to shade around the iris, which is the colored part of the eye, because that is not going to cast shadow. As far as I know, I'm pretty sure the eyeball is fairly smooth. I've never actually held a human eyeball in my hand, but I imagine it would be from poking my own self in the eye. Also, if you see me shading, I'm shading outwards because that's where the cheek is going to start. So now I think I have the pencil dull enough where I can start actually working on her face a little bit, although upside down, but for me it doesn't matter. I mean, shading, it doesn't really matter if you do it upside down or right side up as long as you're putting it in the right spot. And if you have like a multi-pencil set, if you don't know, like HB is the number 2 pencil. And that's the main one you use unless you're doing heavy shading. Like my understanding is you never want to go higher than 6 or lower than 6. And usually anything that's like 2H or whatever like that, like that's light. That's for like kind of doing the outline of your drawing, where the heavier leads with B are like the darker leads. You don't want to go higher than 6 because then they start putting charcoal into it and then it becomes a completely different medium. But like HB, 2B, and 4B are like the ones that you want to shade with the most. Like 6 you rarely use unless you're trying to get like as dark as you can get with a pencil. Okay, I'm gonna stop here for now because I need to take the dog out. I might do a video finishing this up at a different point within the next few days because now that I got past some of the parts of what I want to do. Now I'm kind of interested in finishing it. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you're all doing well. And if you're watching this on the live area on my channel where I archive all my streams, thank you so much and feel free to leave a comment. I'm always happy to hear what any of you have to say and read your comments and reply to them. But anyway, thank you so much again for watching. I hope you're all doing well and I'll talk to you on the next one. Bye.